I'll be back.
In the 80s, when Arnold Schwarzenegger uttered his immortal "I'll be back," we could hardly imagine how his image would be transformed in the 21st century. Judging by the fact that all the assumed dates of the machine's rebellion in Terminator have already passed, 1997, 2004, and 2011, the destruction of the human race will probably be postponed. Why don't we then try to make artificial intelligence our accomplice?
Hello, my name is Harmony.
The first automated human-like mechanisms would never think of wiping mankind from the face of the earth. They had much more humane and cultural interests. In the 18th century, a watchmaker of Swiss origin, Pierre-Jacques Droz, created 3 contraptions with moving dolls called automata. The first one looked like a clockwork boy made of wood and porcelain, with a complicated clock mechanism inside, which he called the writer. The writer is the most complex of the 3 automata. Using a system similar to the one used for the draughtsman for each letter, he's able to write any custom text up to 40 letters long. It was able to write phrases on paper like, "I love you, my city," or "Pierre-Jacques Droz is my inventor." The text is coded on a wheel where characters are selected one by one. He uses a goose feather to write, which he inks from time to time, including a shake of the wrist to prevent ink from spilling. His eyes follow the text being written, and his head moves when he takes some ink. His other invention, the draughtsman, is modeled as a young child and is capable of drawing 4 different images: a portrait of Louis XV, a royal couple believed to be Marie Antoinette and Louis XVI, a dog with Mon Toutou, which translated means "my doggy" written beside it, and a scene of Cupid driving a chariot pulled by a butterfly. The dolls are still functional and can be seen at a famous museum in Switzerland. These automatons are considered to be among the remote ancestors of modern computers. Even though insurgent machines have not yet become a reality, characters of another fantasy film are already living next to us. In the summer of 2017, South Korea tried piloted robots called Method 2, which are very similar to those that destroyed planet Pandora in the film Avatar. Each robot is 4 meters high, has a total weight of more than a ton, and also has a pair of metal arms weighing 130 kilograms each. They look so impressive that you could hardly notice the pilot sitting in the flight deck. The robot is totally controlled by the pilot using joystick controls. The Method 2 robot repeats all the movements of its pilot, also called a driver. The creators of the machine, Hankook Marais Technology, is planning to use the device in extremely dangerous areas. These are places that a human being is unable to reach. For example, during the restoration of Fukushima in Japan after the accident, no human would be able to enter the deadly radioactive areas. The designers do not exclude the possibility of military use. However, these are just predictions for the future. But for now, the creators have many more issues to deal with. For instance, they want to make a robot work without an external power source and wires. Robots are the technology of the future, but can they turn the clock back and introduce you to, well, for example, dinosaurs? A Japanese company called On Art Corp was able to practically resurrect the well-known Tyrannosaurus Rex with the help of cutting-edge technology. The robotic dinosaur was 8 meters tall and could walk, growl, and even eat people. Well, not really, but can it be more realistic? And it looked pretty impressive. Skin folds, fangs, natural habits, and movements made you forget what era you were living in. Although it is extremely strong and terrifying looking, the Japanese Tyrannosaurus is not going to take over the world anytime soon. Its creators plan to put it and 11 of its relatives to work in an amusement park, by analogy with Steven Spielberg's Jurassic Park. The only difference is that in the Japanese version, the visitors of the park are not likely to be eaten. Or at least it seems so. For now.
Tonight, a battle of the robot music bands.
A musician playing on the harpsichord of the 18th century from our first story could hardly imagine how music would change in 250 years. Mach, Ashura, and Cosmo, Members of the rock band Z Machines gather full stadiums of people. They can produce 1,000 chords a minute, play drums with 24 sticks at the same time, and arrange laser shows at their gigs. Oh, yes, it is worth mentioning that there is not a single living person among the musicians, apart from the dancers and lead singers. However, nobody pays attention to that when these electronic guys shake their long hair, wires, on stage. They perform just as good as most rock legends and react to the emotions of the crowd. Machines are extremely trendy and almost on par with humans. American company Sarcos Robotics once started as a manufacturer of prosthetics. Today, it gives superpowers to people by means of creating exoskeletons. One of their masterpieces is called the Guardian GT. This long-armed creation is equally successful in handling loads weighing more than 450 kilograms, while allowing the operator to feel not only the touch of objects, but also their weight. That is, lifting a load of several hundred kilos with the help of the Guardian GT, the operator will also feel an impressive object, though not too heavy, a kilogram or two. Tactile sensations are not the only thing that brings man closer to this mechanoid. The structure of the hands is completely identical to a human, which allows you to avoid flipping through the multi-page manuals. Instead, you can learn how to manage it in a few minutes. You can also operate it remotely, for example, in areas with radiation or poisonous gas that people cannot get to. What do you need in order to cook a delicious dinner? Well, there is no magic about it if you are using smart hands and have the ability to follow a recipe. The robot chef called Molly has 2 robotic manipulators that hang over your stove and take care of everything, from adding spices to serving any aesthetically pleasing dish. A bachelor's dream, isn't it? Well, unfortunately, of all the marital duties, Molly takes care is only food. There would probably be no frank evening conversations in the kitchen or readiness to listen to the man's complaints about his stupid boss. But the robot called Harmony is ready to give any moral support to anyone that needs it. Its appearance meets all the traditional standards of beauty. The settings allow you to choose its character, depending on whether the owner prefers fickle, furious, loving, or jealous partners. There will be no Socratic talks with Harmony, but you can have a simple conversation with her which will brighten up your evening.
How are you feeling today?
I'm in a good mood for a Tuesday. Hello, Matt's friends.
In addition, judging by the stories of happy customers, Harmony will not be offended if you present it with an unsuitable hat or talk the wrong way. What else does a bachelor really need?
Let's dance.
Unlike Harmony, who can hardly be called intelligent, the lifelike android Sophia, born in Hong Kong, has already spoken at the UN Assembly, had a discussion with Charlie Rose on the TV show 60 Minutes, gave interviews on American TV channels, participated in the Spurbank Business Breakfast, and came to Yvonne Ergont's studio. When creating Sophia, its author, David Hansen, was inspired by the image of Audrey Hepburn. As a result, this robot with artificial intelligence is not only smart, but also beautiful and emotional. Any flirtatious woman would want her diverse facial expressions. Sophia can demonstrate more than 60 emotions and keep the ball rolling in almost any conversation. Maybe that's why she appeared on Elle and Cosmopolitan covers. Last year, the authorities of Saudi Arabia felt so fascinated by it that she was offered citizenship of the kingdom. Sophia is also famous for having promised to destroy humanity in one of her talks. However, she said it was just a joke. So if anything like that happens, she has nothing to do with it.
Do you want to destroy humans? Please say no.
Okay, I will destroy humans.
To believe that the future is already here, it is not necessary to buy a movie ticket for Transformers. There are enough wonders in real life. For example, there is the annual International Consumer Electronics Exhibition in Las Vegas. Behind the boring official name, there are real masterpieces of engineering. One of them is called Furrion Prosthesis, a 5-meter exoskeleton controlled by a person sitting inside. These 2-foot or 4-legged machines, also called mechs, have already been featured by the filmmakers of Star Wars and The War of the Worlds. Now they have reached the real world. The authors plan to use Furrion Prosthesis in a special racing league. Perhaps in a few years they will outshine the glory of Formula One. The Hitchbot did not have any ambitious plans at first. He was just a simple guy who preferred hitchhiking to fashionable racing. Hitchbot's developers, David Harris Smith and Frauke Zeller, sent their offspring on a trip to Canada, Europe, and the United States for a reason, and with an important social mission: to find out to which extent robots can trust people. The creators tried to make the robot as unattractive to thieves as possible, but very functional, and provided it with solar panels, video cameras, speech synthesizers, and cheerful rubber boots in case of bad weather. The only moving element of Hitchbot was its right hand. He used it for hitchhiking. After negotiating with the driver with a minimal set of phrases, Hitchbot could help coordinate the route of the trip and also have a simple conversation. During the journey, the electronic hitchhiker gradually gained popularity, was shown in Galileo, participated in various events in the Netherlands, and was photographed with fans and drivers. However, the triumphal procession ended suddenly. On August 1, 2015, a photo of Hitchbot beheaded and broken by unknown intruders appeared on Twitter.
Oh, God! Oh, God!
Apparently, it's still too early for robots to trust humanity.
I don't know.
Cooking, cleaning, military operations, security. We have long dreamed that robots will perform the most difficult and unpleasant work for us, but we hardly ever think about how hard it is for them, these poor machines, to perform it. Do they have feelings? Suffer from insomnia? Are they tired of working in a 24/7 mode? Nightscope K5, a policeman that was providing security in one of the shopping malls in Washington just a few months ago, is no longer able to answer these questions. His mission was to fix all possible violations and report them to fellow human beings. The robot guard had many useful functions, like reading car plates or identifying potentially dangerous situations. Obviously, this honorary post did not make him happy, otherwise he would not have gone straight to the fountain to drown himself a few seconds later. Witnesses are still wondering what caused this kind of behavior, a technical malfunction or an existential crisis, and critics call another episode related to this model. Shortly before the suicide of his counterpart, another robot guard violated the main law of robotics, knocking down a child. In general, experts are now struggling to improve this robot, and we hope that our collection has inspired you.